Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Language Learning Podcast. My name is Siad, and this is my video podcast, audio podcast, vlog thing, basically where I talk about experiments and things going on in my language learning life. And today I have a new, what I will call a sub-series that I am starting as part of this thing, and it's going to be called a lab report. So again, going on the experiments laboratory train, lab reports are going to be updates about, quote, experiments that I have been running. And the first one that I want to talk about is my Babbel Live experience about 2 months in. I didn't make a separate video about this, but I believe I had mentioned it, that I signed up for a Babbel Live subscription for the next 12 months. So it's been 2 months so far of the 12. And I just thought I would reflect a little bit about how I feel like it's going. So I will say that I did purchase this prior to their Black Friday sale, and they've also taken away the current subscription plan that I am on, which is unfortunate. I hope that in the next few months they bring it back, because I would like to purchase it for some other people I know, I think, who would really enjoy it. All that aside, I'm not going to get into the specifics of Babbel Live, because you can do that in other people's videos and also on Reddit, and you can just see for yourself. But I will have to say that 2 months in, I think it is probably the best deal that you can get for language classes, at least the deal that I got. And I decided to go with Babbel Live for a few reasons, but the primary reason was that 2 of the target languages that I'm working on are on there, French and Spanish. And the prospect of taking unlimited classes was incredibly enticing and motivating. So that is why I decided to purchase the subscription. It is not cheap. It is an investment, is something I've been saving up for and thinking about. So I will say that it wasn't a purchase decision that I made on a whim. Now, 2 months in, I think I've taken probably around 15 classes or so, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And each of the classes has actually, except for, I will say, my very first French class, and I didn't really love it. But I think that's just because it was the very first one, and you're going over sort of not French so much as how to be a student in Babbel Live classes and how to use Zoom and how to use the platform. So I think I just didn't love that one. But overall, I've really, really enjoyed it. Every teacher that I've had has also been great. Some teachers use the Babbel slides and curriculum exactly as they are laid out, and they don't really add anything else. And then some teachers don't use them very much and go off script, but still keep with the plan and the theme of the lesson. I think either of them are really, really great. So I love it. About a month in, decided that I wanted to, well, maybe not a month in, maybe about 2 weeks ago, I decided that I wanted to kind of change how I was approaching the classes. So initially, I was just signing up for a class that I felt was within my level and my knowledge and my skills, and not doing any homework or pre-work before, and jumping in and kind of going in without having done any prep work. And then I read somewhere on Reddit, of all places, just about how other people were experiencing Babbel and if they were preparing for each lesson or not. And I decided that, I have this for 10 more months. I really want to I'll probably do it for another year, but I at least have this for another 10 months. And I really want to get and have a really good experience with each class that I take. And so I decided that instead of not doing anything before each class, that I would look at the slides, translate all the words that I didn't know, do some of the reading out loud, and just to help me feel better about going into every class, because I am no stranger to nervousness and doing things in public, but that doesn't mean that I want to feel that way when I take language classes. And so I decided that I would do some homework and to study a little bit before. And I'm not doing a ton of studying. I think I've done maybe 20 to 30 minutes before, the day before or a few days before each class. And it has really made me feel a lot less nervous about being in the classes. It's also made me feel more comfortable speaking, because I've thought a little bit about what I'm going to say. And of course, not everything I will say in the class is scripted out, but at least with doing some thought, giving it some energy and time beforehand, I can just feel a little bit better and a little less nervous. I know I've watched a lot of people's videos and them talking about taking language classes, and they say that they feel very nervous or unprepared. And for me, I'm sort of also treating Babbel Live as like language school. It's not language school. I'm not saying it's language school, but for me, for now, this is as close to a language school environment that I am going to get. And so as someone who enjoys learning, as someone who is, always going to be some kind of student of something, I want to prepare and I want to do well and I want to get the most out of the experience, especially if I pay for it. So I think it's a good thing, especially since they do make the material available beforehand, that you can study. That's what it's there for. And I was thinking, in my other life and the other things that I do, I would never show up to a class or a lesson unprepared. So it doesn't really make sense for me to do that, especially when I've made an investment in these classes, to do that with Babbel. Now, I think you could always make the argument that, oh, well, you're not coming into the classes showing your true level because you've thought about it and you've prepared some phrases or things you might say, or you've studied up and you've looked at all of the words. But just like I said, you don't actually know everything that's going to happen in the class anyway. This just helps you to know sort of like the theme and to be able to think about it. And it also means that I feel more comfortable contributing in the classes because I do have something to say. I know some words related to that theme. You would never show up to work unprepared. You wouldn't show up to any other class that you prepared. You wouldn't show up to any other class unprepared. So why would I do the same with my language classes? That's right, I wouldn't. I spent a long time in music school, and I would just have skipped a lesson if I had ever showed up to a lesson unprepared. And so I thought, I'm going to take this as seriously as I want to, and I believe in language learning and communication and language acquisition. So preparing for classes has been important. So overall, I would say that the classes are really working out for me. It's interesting doing it for two languages, because for French, I am very, very a beginner, started learning last year. And so I don't know much of anything. So I really am learning everything as I go. Whereas Spanish, I thought about this earlier today. I've been seriously recommitted to Spanish since 2022. As a false beginner, I took Spanish in high school many years ago. And so I do have more knowledge in Spanish, and so I can take the higher level classes. So I'm able to have sort of those dual experiences. I've also, Babbel has like a suggested, at least I wouldn't call it a curriculum, but maybe an order of classes. I think you definitely want to stick to not taking too many modules out of order for a language you don't know. But I'm getting a little looser with that with French because it's a little bit more difficult being in the time zone that I'm in to schedule the French classes that I want when I want them. So this is also where doing the preparation comes in hand, because I can review or preview what's going to happen in the class and at least have had a little bit of exposure to what's going to happen. So all in all, this experiment is going very, very well, and I recommend it if it's something that you are able to afford. Totally not something that you have to do, but speaking is really important to me and is a big part of why I am learning a language, and being able to be in these classes and speak to teachers, speak to other students has really been great so far. So that is my lab report on my Babbel live class experience. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions that I can answer about using the app, but also going to the classes and all that. And with that, I will see you in the next little episode, video, audio log of this podcast. Have a nice day.